Dear guest, in the movie The Matrix, the main character, his name is Neo. Well, he's also known as Mr. Anderson. He's very agitated because he knows something's wrong with the world, but he can't put his finger on it. And so as he searches for truth, he comes across Morpheus. And Morpheus holds out two pills to him. The blue pill and the red pill. And he tells him, if you take the blue pill, you'll fall asleep, and when you wake up, you can believe whatever you want. But if you take the red pill, it will show you the truth. And so what does he reach for? The red pill. Because he wants to know truth. You know, wouldn't it be nice if we could take a red pill in the real world to know the truth? I would love that. But we can't. So what is there in this, what is there that can help us to really evaluate what truth is? It is called worldview. Now, to use a worldview in order to discover truth, you have to do three things to it. You first of all have to know what your worldview is. How can you evaluate it if you don't know? Second, you have to understand why you believe what you believe. And then third, you need to test your worldview and see if it matches up with reality. So this is how we go about finding truth. So we start with to know our worldview. Now, what is a worldview? I think that's a question maybe a lot of you probably never heard of that before. But worldview is, it comes from a German word. Look, it comes from German word, Weltanschauung, meaning a comprehensive understanding of the universe and humanity's relationship to it. So understanding the universe and understanding humanity's relationship to it. Here's a few more definitions. It is the lens or framework of our beliefs, attitudes, values, ideas, assumptions, convictions by which we interpret reality and from which we derive meaning, purpose, and direction. And this is a pretty common definition for worldview. But as I've studied about this and prepared, I thought of one more I think that's very important that most people miss, and that is this. It is the orientation of our hearts towards the fundamental aspects of reality. Because all the time we talk about our heads, but humans aren't motivated all by their heads, but by their hearts. So it's important that we understand what's going on in our hearts. So how do we figure out what our worldview is? Well, the first thing we need to do is we're going to look at the foundation of all worldviews. There's three main categories you're going to see in a minute here. But the foundation that we look at is two things for origins. We look at origins in order to determine the foundation. In origins, you look at two things. Where did the universe come from? And where did human beings come from? So in studying origins, we need to look at two things. We need to look at God and the universe. Those two things make the foundation for every worldview. So the three main categories that all worldviews fit in are these. Only the universe, no God. Atheism, and other things like agnosticism, and other things like humanism. And then God and the universe, which is theism. And then there is everything is God, pantheism. So if you look at the worldviews, you could put them in any of these three categories. Now here's some statistics from around the world, from the United States and from Romania. You can see that 90% of the people in the world have a religious or spiritual worldview. Only 10% do not. And of that 10%, only 2% are atheist. And you see what America is a lot more theist. And then in Romania, even more. It goes up. But what about our club? Because I did a survey. What do you think the results were on that? Oh, here they are. So a lot more atheists, no God in our club. The God in the universe is down quite a bit. And everything God is, surprised me, it was really high. Now, if we look at the main worldviews of the world, the first top four are Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism. I added the other two just because they're in the news and we see it all the time, atheism and Judaism. So if you look at the first four, you see that they make up 78% of all worldviews in the whole world. Isn't that amazing? And in the United States, Christianity is 78% just by itself, because you can see that America is, just like Romania, can be considered a Christian nation. Now, the statistics on Romania I got from the Romania census from 2011, and there's 6% of the people didn't fill that part out. So I kind of took a rough guess, so that's how I filled it out. Now we go on to we've looked at knowing worldviews, so we just got a brief introduction to it. Now we're going to go on and try to understand why we believe what we believe. What influences help shape our worldview? I figured out at least a minimum of 20, but I'm only just going to share the top 4 in my opinion. Okay? And they are this. Your family, especially your parents, they have a huge influence in what you believe. Or not believe this. And then there's culture. The culture you grow up in has a huge influence. Also, the media that you take in over your lifetime has a huge impact on that. Then you have the heart. Remember I talked about earlier how the heart is? The heart is the most powerful influence there is. Behavioral and social scientists have discovered that human beings are not rational. We are motivated and driven more by our desires of our heart than we are by our reason. So the big question is, since our worldview is shaped much more by what we want rather than by reality, how can we be sure if it's true? Well, to do that, we need to test our worldview. Here's a quote. The true test of a worldview is its coherence to reality. Now, coherent just means it is logical and consistent. And this is Ravi Zacharias. He's one of the leading experts on religion, worldviews, and philosophy. I really like his stuff. It was the best. I searched lots of things, but I really liked his stuff. Now, he gives 3 truth tests to use. Be logically consistent. Matches up with reality. Must be livable. And I'm going to give one example of each. Logically consistent. Cannot be self-contradictory. There is no truth. How can that be true? Do you see the contradiction there? It's logically contradicted itself. Right? Matches up with reality. Look at the evidence. The universe had a beginning. Well, if the universe had a beginning, then it means that the universe is not spiritually or materially eternal. So it tends to lead towards the conclusion there must have been a creator God. Must be livable in the real world. There is no evil. I wonder if people who say this actually don't leave their doors open in their house. This is not practical in the real world, believe me this. Okay, so a worldview must be logically consistent, must match up with reality, and be livable. In closing, I want to encourage you to really look into the 3 things I shared tonight. Make the effort to know what your worldview is. Take a look at your heart and understand the heart reasons why you believe what you believe. Then, have the courage to test your worldview and see if it matches up with reality. If it doesn't, find the one that does. Remember, the blue pill, believe whatever you want. Or the red pill, search for truth. The choice is yours. Madam Toastmaster?